We getting it, boy.
What's good? You know who it is. It's your boy, Jay in the Bay.
Your baller back again. Smells like football season.
Yo. Whoa.
Faithful Niner Empire. What's good? It's your boy, Jay in the Bay. We got half of the crew tonight for Straight Out of the Bay. We got Kelts to my right. Unfortunately, Bay Area Baller and Amin the Dream could not make it tonight. But we're going to definitely involve the chat. We're going to be reading a lot of comments. So we appreciate everyone tuning in to the stream tonight. There's also a Monday night football game going on right now. So we appreciate everyone who's tuning in. Feel free to hit that like button and make sure you subscribe. And Kelts Chronicles, how are you doing on a Monday night, man?
Yay! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Victory Monday. It's been a victory weekend. Life is good in general, man. It's always good to chop it up, with the crew. It's just us two tonight, but it's all good. I always look forward to it. There's plenty to talk about with the 49ers across the NFL. So yeah, man, let's get it. What's up, Spice Clown? Don't know if I've seen you before, but we got Spice Clown with the, I'm not sure what face that, man. It made me think of what was it? The Goonies. It made me think of the Goonies lightweight. But what up, Spice Clown? Hello, what's up?
What's good? Yeah, I see Spice Clown. I've seen him on my channel before. Thanks for tuning in, Spice Clown. We appreciate it. But yeah, man, Kelts, as you mentioned, the Niners have started the season 3-0. We're coming off of a home opening win versus the New York Giants. It was definitely, I would say, it was a Thursday night game performance, kind of how we're used to, where it's like a sluggish game. The teams aren't really playing their best ball, but fortunately, hey, we were able to get a win, and we're now 3-0. So that's obviously a huge plus. We've got, I believe, we had 11 days off until we play Arizona next week. So definitely looking forward to that. Just any thoughts about the NFL games in general? Anything that stood out? Feel free.
Hey, man, just a quick, talking about the 49er game. It was, kind of like you said, it was that. But one thing that it made me notice watching a lot more of the NFL, man, I was watching the, the NFL Red Zone, where they're playing every other game, every other play. And one thing that really stood out to me was Kyle Shanahan, and just how much joy it is to watch the 49ers, even when they're not clicking on all cylinders. You look across the league and there's not a lot going on. The Dolphins obviously almost set a record on offense,
70 points.
70 freaking. But watching, my God, and watching that, it was reminiscent of watching the 49ers, just the shifts and the creativity and the movement and the excitement and all that good stuff, and the run game, watching tonight, Monday Night Football, it was kind of boring, to be honest. The Eagles, the Bucks, like all four teams, the Rams, and especially the Bengals. It's just like, set up, shotgun, 4 wide, and not a lot of movement, and run a route and throw the ball. And so it just reminded me that it's just a joy, and sometimes it's easy to not be grateful for what you got until you don't got it, So it made me appreciate the Niners even more, even when they were off on a Thursday. They're still doing work. They're still a team on a mission. They're not playing no games. And Debo, man, he showed out. So that was nice to see.
Absolutely. No, the Niners are definitely exciting to watch with all the playmakers, even with Ayuk out. Definitely exciting to watch. And I think they said in NFL that the Dolphins, they scored 70 points, and that hadn't been done since like 1966. So that was definitely crazy score. But
then
yeah.
I think they also I'm not sure the exact number, but I think they might have set the record for the most yards in the game. I think they had
Mm.
700
Wow.
and 26 yards, bro.
Whew.
Like, what, 4 touchdowns by Mostert, 4
Right,
by,
right.
the rookie
The
Akane.
rookie running back. Yeah.
Yeah, man, and I really liked his speed coming out of the draft. There was another one, I can't remember his name right off the bat, but yeah, man, McDaniel, he was our run game facilitator, a run game coach,
Right.
and you definitely see it over there in Miami. And then I did want to mention, man, there was someone on Twitter asked a question, "Hey, what's your Super Bowl prediction?" Back
Yeah.
in July, I believe it was. I retweeted it today, but I could have went with the easy choices on the Chiefs or the Bills or the Bengals, the Jets, and then I went with the storyline. I was like, hey, my predictions: Niners, Dolphins. I know it's week 3, but hey, man, they're looking like the 2 best teams right now. I feel like you just really have the thing that's going to set teams apart is the offensive creativity and a run game. And you see that with the Chiefs as well. The Chiefs know how to really integrate, with Andy Reid, just the creativity, and then Pacheco, he's a tough runner, and just their timely usage of, actually all 3 of their backs over there in KC. So those are going to be 3 of the teams that I think are that are going to be consistent all year. We seen what happened with Dallas. They're getting talked about how they're one of the greatest teams. It's always the Cowboys' year. This is the freaking year. It's gonna, and watching Stephen A do his thing, man. I think he's
Always funny.
always freaking funny, bro.
Uh,
Like I absolutely love it, man. We got Randy Daytona in the house. Says, yo,
what's good? What's good, Randy? How you doing?
what up, Randy? How you doing,
Appreciate you coming in tonight. Hey, there's no doubt those teams will be exciting. But before we talk about the game, the Niners beating the Giants, there was a little bit of news that came out. First, we got to start off with the 49ers extending radio hosts Papa and Ryan. I mean, what were your initial thoughts? Do you listen to the radio broadcast when you're watching the game, or did this news just fly past your head? Didn't have a care about?
I did not even notice the Papa. I might have caught a glimpse of it, but yeah, it went mostly over the head. It's
Okay.
Sometimes I pick and choose. I don't know. It depends on the day, but some days I like Papa, some days I don't.
Right.
Sometimes I like the touchdown San Fran. Sometimes I like it. Sometimes I'm like, man, it just something about him reminds me of the Raiders. I think it's when he gets to talking a little too much on certain things. It's like, you're Raider Papa again, and then
Right.
a couple days later be like, Papa's cool, so it just depends. It depends on the day. But I think Ryan, he's pretty cool. Yeah, man, he sounds like that football guy, so it is what it is. What up, David McNiner? Yee.
We got David McNiner in the building. What's good? David says, what's good, Jay and Rich, LFG 49ers. Let's beat the feathers off them good old red chickens. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting game when we go down and play the Arizona Cardinals. I don't even know. At the top of my head, is that a home game or away game? I'm not even sure.
It's a home game.
Home game? Sweet. Okay.
I'm almost positive.
Okay.
Positive. Yeah, because I think we played 3 straight home games, the
straight
one
home
on
games,
Thursday. And then we'll after that week we'll face Dallas.
Yep. That'd be a Sunday night game. That'll be can't wait for that one.
Can't wait.
I think,
man.
Yeah.
No, go
I was just gonna say, I think Papa and Ryan are very knowledgeable with their craft. I definitely like listening to them during the game. Papa can be a little bit cringe with some stuff he says, or sometimes the touchdown chant, it gets kind of he did it with the Raiders, so now he's doing it with the Niners, so it's kind of takes a little bit to get used to. But honestly, I don't listen a ton to the radio broadcast, only if I'm in the car, and I'm not, if I'm at home, I'm just listening to the broadcast on the TV. So, but that could be Papa and Ryan, and sometimes it's someone else. So, definitely think they're solid at their job. I enjoy them. But we got to talk about the more important news, I would say. And there's a lot of differing opinions on, is this a good idea? And we have to talk about the 49ers extending Shanahan and Lynch. And, is the timing right? Is it premature? I would love to hear from the chat. What are your thoughts on this? I believe before this extension came through, Shanahan already was signed through 2025 and Lynch was signed through 2024. So I would love to hear the chat. What do you guys feel? Is this premature, extending Shanahan and Lynch? Is this just right? I think I'll start off first on this topic. I would say it is premature. And the reason why I say that, a few reasons. Obviously, we've yet to win the Super Bowl. There's no doubt that when Shanahan and Lynch got here in 2017, they did a complete roster overhaul. There's no doubt about that. Lynch has done a great job in assembling a roster and bringing in talent. I mean, we can list the names. Y'all know the names. But there's no doubt they have made the team relevant, competitive. And I think, when Harbaugh was let go, the the franchise was basically in the dumps. I mean, with Tom Sula, and there's some news about Tom Sula where he won the Coach of the Year in some NFL, or not NFL league, but a different league involving football. So, congrats to him. But obviously, when he was the head coach with the Niners, it was not a successful tenure. Chip Kelly. So there's no doubt they've reversed this franchise's fortunes. We've yet to win the big one, but we have been super competitive. We have been really successful if we're not talking about Super Bowls. And I saw a stat earlier. The Niners have 45 regular season wins in the NFL since 2019. So obviously that's a big plus. Shanahan's head coaching record. Do you know what Shanahan's head coaching record is? Take a guess.
I don't know the exact numbers. I know it's probably 50 something and 40, or it could be 50 something and 50 something, but I feel like he's like 8 games over 500 or something like that.
Super close.
This is just a complete guess. I'll just say 58. I'll just say 58 and 51. Just a
He's super close. He's got 55 wins, 46 losses in the regular season. So you're super close. Yeah, so he's just over 500. I just think, why now? Why do you have to do it now, especially with more years that are left on the contract? Granted, Lynch is he was up at the end of next season, so maybe you wanted to make sure you kept him. But I'm just curious. They could have done it this offseason. Excuse me, not this offseason, but the following offseason, the upcoming offseason. They could have extended both guys, depending on what happens during the regular season and postseason of this season. We got to talk about, the Trey Lance fiasco. That's definitely a part of their resume. So I would say it's premature. I would love to hear what the chat feels. Is this decision to extend Lynch and Shanahan premature, or the timing is just right based upon their accolades? But what say you, Kelts? What do you think?
I think there's, I've been critical of Shanahan and Lynch, especially when things ain't going right, just leadership or whatever it is, But one of the main things that I've praised Jed York for a while back was giving them long contract extensions. Just, when I'm talking leadership, I'm also, I might get on them when I feel like they ain't doing stuff right with the trade stuff or other things, but I always want a solid foundation, and a solid foundation is going to start with that longevity. In today's day, you see the turnover is so quick. Coaches getting fired left and right. Players, quarterbacks leash are shorter and shorter. So a few years back, I was like, that's what's up, Jed York. Plant your flag. Hey, we're going to build something. We're not going to just kick them out the door in 2 or 3 years. We're going to let them work. We're going to let them really build a culture. And so, that's what one major thing that was a positive to me. I think the timing possibly could be as John Lynch, he was on the verge of taking a contract last year, I believe, with Prime TV or whatever it was.
True.
So I think there's a few reasons of the timing of it to quiet some of the noise and to kind of solidify just like they did with Brock Purdy. It was tough to let Trey go, and kind of that was admitting, they failed at that, but like I always talk about being lukewarm, play in the middle. At some point in time, you got to take the damn shot. You got to take the shot, throw the back shoulder throw, see if you can do it, because at some point in time, you're going to have to do it, whether that's signing your coaches to contract extensions, your players, cutting players, saying, hey, Brock is the real deal. I love that kind of stuff. That's like saying, hey, we're not playing this on the fence type of deal
Right.
anymore. We know what we want, we know what we're going for, and this is just pick a direction and go. So I look at this like all the outside noise that's talking about hot seat mess, that's out the door. So I look at that like, just even hearing that little bit of noise about being on the hot seat, that's dead and gone. So that eliminates some of that lukewarm crap. You know what I'm saying? Any noise that could be talked about, or John Lynch might be gone after. Oh, nope, he just got an extension. It just makes me, I like it. I like it. I could kind of care less of not winning the Super Bowl yet. Just the more and more I'm doing this YouTube thing and looking at the Niners from a zoomed out perspective, the more and more I'm looking at the culture, and I'm looking at, I can nitpick the details and be like, dude, what have they really done in 6 or 7 years? Like I've said before, but then I'm like, hey man, they've done a freaking great job. If we
Yeah.
go, if we tear off 2 Super Bowls, no one ain't going to be talking about no. Could you imagine, if we do win 2 Super Bowls, but imagine if we didn't keep them, those things would never happen. It's reminiscent of Andy Reid, how close he would get in Philadelphia. He went somewhere else. He eventually got his 2 Super Bowls, and he's regarded as one of the greatest coaches of all time. If you look at Bill Walsh and Kyle Shanahan, they're very similar beside the Super Bowls. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And one thing that Bill Walsh did do correct from the jump basically was draft Joe Montana and put faith in him, put trust in him. And, it just worked. It was different times. It worked out in a different way for Bill Walsh. I'm not comparing the two at all, but I'm saying if you do really break their stuff down, there's a lot of similarities, man. And so for personally, I'm happy about it. I think that just kind of quiets a lot of bullcrap noise on, it just eliminates some of that lukewarm kind of like tension, and just we know exactly where we're going, and
Right.
this is the direction we're going. All that other stuff is kind of irrelevant.
It's almost like the Pittsburgh Steelers approach, where
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin has been super successful. I think he's only got, I say only, but I think he has one Super Bowl championship, I believe, with his tenure. But I believe they've made the playoffs every year except 1 year, I believe, or they've had a winning record. I should say they've had a winning record. So you look at, as you mentioned, I like what you said. You said the culture, like they obviously the Steelers have a good culture. They know that Mike Tomlin, is the head man in charge. Players, if they have an issue, they go to Mike Tomlin. They're not going to the owner. They're not going to Jerry Jones. They're going to Mike Tomlin. He keeps the team usually, ready to play, except, when they play us. But hey, they got a good win yesterday. Who they play yesterday? The Steelers, the Raiders. They played the Raiders in Vegas. That was a good win for them. But you made some great points. The culture is set. Shanahan has done great things here. I want to get into what some of the people who are watching, what they felt like. We got to say, Randy Daytona, he says, I mean, when you ask people who they would replace them with, they have few names, but one was Sean Payton. He says, no, thanks. I love Kyle and John. Okay. We got Fable JVC in the building. What's good? How you doing tonight? Hopefully all is well. Let's see. David McNiner, appreciate you tuning in. He says, I would have wrote contract extensions up for both and dangled it in front like a toy on a string in front of a cat and said, this is what you get for a Super Bowl victory. That's fair. Now, does Jed, does he have, the courage of his convictions to do that? Is he willing to, make that call? I don't know if he's willing to dangle that in front of them like a carrot. I don't know if he's willing to do that. But I think part of the reason for the extension is Jed has seen what life is like without Kyle and John. So he doesn't want to go back to that. And as one gentleman said, Randy, he said, hard to threaten a guy who can get a job anywhere else. So we've heard it before. If Kyle gets fired, he'll have a job like that, quick, fast, in a hurry. So I would say it was premature, but I think Kyle and John, they built a great team, and I don't see why we can't win a Super Bowl this year. So I think for the most part, it was a good decision. So Keps.
Hey man, and I think we're just scratching the surface. I know we've been good for quite. It's like if you really break it all down, it's not like we've had 4 winning seasons in a row. I know it feels like that because of 2019 Super Bowl, but it's like there hasn't been this tremendous consistency. But I think we're on the verge of it. Shanahan is still a young man, and from my perspective, it looks like he really is still growing, like just as a person, as a man.
Right.
I think a lot of people just kind of write it in Sharpie that once you hit a certain age, that's it. Nah, man, I've done seen 50-year-olds completely hit a 180 in their life. I've seen it personally, face to face, not just you are who you are if you're 38 years old. Then that's it. There's no improvement or growth. But I've seen Kyle take steps, man. So I think that's a part of it. And it's not even like who else can you get, but it's like what we were talking about earlier. When you look across the NFL, there's a reason why a lot of teams are trying to mimic Kyle's system. And he's still growing, man. I think he's 43. That's pretty young as an NFL coach, man. So I think I see a lot of goodness in it, man. There's too much positive energy going in this regular season for me to bite the hook on a little bit of, oh my God, why now? You coulda, shoulda, woulda,
Right.
But I do understand that. But I'm just looking at those little nuggets. Like, why would they do things? Why? It's like, hey, man, so we can just have a little bit more of a stable foundation, man, so there's not any kind of narratives floating around. This is the year to win it. And I like when I said scratching the surface, I think we're going to be good for quite a few years. I think they've set it up in a way to where, we're going to see back to back to back, winning seasons always being in the discussion for a Super Bowl run, especially when you got a guy like CMC in his prime. A lot of our players, besides Eric Armstead and Trent Williams, most of our guys are in, besides Brock, how young Brock is, but if he stays healthy, he could be around for 15 years, assuming that he's going to be a really good quarterback, and all signs tell me that he's the real deal, man. I've watched enough tape in slow motion to see how this can be a repetitive thing with Brock Purdy. So I'm juiced up about it all, man. We're heading in the right direction for sure.
No, absolutely. I would say the timing is interesting, but it's absolutely great news. I think if one of those guys left in the offseason, I think that would be bad news. So I think there's no doubt it's great news, and it's great to know that they'll be with the franchise for it. Now, the particulars of the extension weren't I don't think they were made public, but you would have to imagine they would be with the franchise at least the next until 2026, 2027 at the minimum, you would think.
I think I heard it today on the radio. I haven't been paying a lot of attention to a lot of sources, to be honest. I've been just like, I've almost went back to the old Rich where I catch a little bit of the radio, might post something, but I'm not seeing everything, you feel me? But I did catch a little, caught 10 minutes of the radio today, and I think they said 2028. But I don't know if they gave out the details, but I did hear him say both of them 2028. And I was like,
so that's cool. That's cool. So that would be another 3 years for Shanahan and another 4 years for Lynch. So
that's dope. Hey, if Shanahan or if Lynch actually goes through with it, because the way last year was being talked about that prime money, I was like, oh, it's only a matter of time. Maybe he'll give us 1 or 2 more years, try to get the Super Bowl, be like, hey, that's exactly what I came here for, man, to get that, Super Bowl, because I believed it when they first came here that, it was their words. John Lynch said, "Hey, we came to restore the legacy, of Bill Walsh and the 49." And he sounded, being a Stanford guy, those ties run deep. When you really start, Bill Walsh and Stanford and John Lynch and who else, McCaffrey and there's a few others, but
Solomon Thomas. Oh, my bad.
Solomon, they John Elway, Hey, man, it runs deep, and these guys take pride in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These guys really, especially, you know, um, they're both. It feels like they're opposites, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, but they complement each other well, man.
Yeah.
That's just the way I see it. They're both prideful in their ways.
No,
Whether it's
absolutely.
their scheme or and you can see all the ties, you can see the relationships, the culture, like I mentioned earlier, and
Yeah,
we've built a damn great thing so far, man. And I think
absolutely.
we're still only scratching the surface. Someone could be, how you scratching the surface after 7 years? It's like, hey, things like that happen, man. It's almost reminiscent to Mark Jackson being there with the Warriors, and then he hands it over right when Jackson could have maybe got a couple championships. It was in that scenario, it was time, and then Kerr took it to the next level. I think we're about to see the next level with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan in the next chat, like the Steve Kerr chapter, when I don't want to start speaking of dynasties until we actually, get
Win
one,
one. Yeah.
yeah, we got to get one. We got to get it fully done. But I feel like once they get one and break through, there ain't no telling. There ain't no telling.
Floodgates will open. Hey, one thing I would say is that Lynch and Shanahan, from the outside looking in, they appear to get along, and that was the exact opposite of Harbaugh and Balky. So, hey, both men respect each other, and they're rowing in the same direction. So that's what you want. You want that cohesiveness and that leadership, and I think that's, from the outside looking in, that's what you get. So Jed likes that, and he wants that to continue. So, hey, I think it's all good. This guy does said need a Super Bowl, no participation playoff trophies, and that's how some people feel. I would agree with it to a certain extent, but I think overall it's good news. It's definitely good news.
This guy, man, I have echoed those sentiments so many times. Like, dude, I am tired of this. I don't know. I feel like, I was just talking a few minutes ago about leveling up as a person. We all go through the waves of life, and it's like the way things are right now. I'm just choosing to be optimistic about it. You know what I'm saying? Well, if the time comes, hey, if they stumble and fall again this year for whatever the reason is, I'm gonna be upset, man. Just like anybody else. But I've said it time and time again, man. Hey, it's been 28 damn years. It's time. Jed York, you said it with your mouth when you fired Harbaugh. Hey, we don't hang championship banners. We don't hang division banners. And then I've mentioned it quite a few times. Like, yeah, you do. Like, he said we hang Super Bowl banners, and if I don't do that, hold me personally accountable. Almost word for word from what he said. So I hear that, this guy, real talk. But right now we're rolling. We're rolling right now. So it's like, I'll be upset when they give me a reason to be. That's just the way I'm choosing to go about it.
No, absolutely. We got to get into the game. I guess first we'll talk about the injuries that occurred. There were some injuries that occurred during the game. Actually, I would say that were what aggravated during the game. Obviously, Ayuk got the shoulder injury. He didn't play in the last game. He sat out, but he also sat out of practice today. So that's something to monitor throughout the rest of the week. Hopefully he plays on Sunday against Arizona, but we'll definitely have to keep an ear to what the practice reports are. Now, there weren't any official injury news. Like I saw on Twitter where, the respected reporters, Matt Mayoko, gave out a list of guys he saw and he didn't see on the field. So Ayuk was on the field, but he was basically doing like individual drills. He didn't participate in team practice. Same with Debo, didn't participate in team practice. Dre Greenlaw, Ambry Thomas didn't participate either. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles and Juwan Jennings, they were on the side field doing individual work. But obviously, hopefully these guys will all be able to play on Sunday versus the Cardinals. But that's something that we'll have to keep getting updates as the week progresses. So, but that's the latest right now for a Monday. We still have Tuesday, Wednesday, and one of the most important practices will be Thursday and Friday. So we'll see what happens with those guys. But obviously, hey, the Niners are starting 3-0. Beat the Giants. It was definitely the second half was kind of a snooze fest. I just felt like the Giants, their offense couldn't really move the ball consistently in the second half. Kudos to the Niners defense. And I just didn't see them putting up much points. So it was kind of boring when the Giants were on offense. But there's no doubt the Niners put up 30 points. That's another 30-point game when Brock Purdy starts. So, I didn't even feel like the offense really hit its stride, like it, especially not in the first half. It did not really hit its stride, but we still put up 30. So if that was one of Brock Purdy's worst games, then hey,
he put up 310 yards, which is the most he's ever put up in the regular season.
Right.
And you can see so much meat is still on the bone.
Exactly.
But like it's still 30 to what was it? 30 to 12.
30 to 12.
Like how dangerous can this team be when they're clicking on all freaking cylinders? Because I mean, right now, Brock Purdy is in a league of his own. You know, I did a little bit of research. You know, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that's put it out. But, you know, Brock Purdy is the only quarterback in the NFL with no interceptions on an undefeated team. Last night, it was also Baker Mayfield. It was Baker, Dak Prescott, and it was Purdy. But then Dak threw a pick, and they lost. Mayfield, Baker threw a freaking pick and they lost as well. So Brock, I mean, I like those kind of things. I love those things when only one person is in that category, or like a no-hitter in baseball or a perfect game in baseball. You know, I'm always searching for those little nuggets and rooting for those kind of streaks to happen. And then on top of it, I think Brock Purdy is also, what is it? He's the third the third most straight wins for, you know, to start your career. He's only behind Ben Roethlisberger and I don't want to mess his name up, Tom Zach, I believe it is. But, you know, he's third all time in, you know, consecutive regular season wins. There's this, I feel like there's we're watching history. Like every week, you're kind of just watching history. Another win. It's almost, I feel like it's almost being taken for granted on the start that this man has had to his career, regardless of what surrounds him, regardless of Debo. And I'm saying almost regardless as a compliment at the same time, regardless of the all-stars on both sides of the ball, regardless of Kyle Shanahan, we didn't see Nick Mullins come up in here and win 9 straight. You know what I'm saying? I know there's the CMC factor. I know everything plays a part. There's 53 men on the field, but I think it's being taken for granted what's actually going on. You know, my history of watching the San Francisco 49ers, it just feels lightweight reminiscent of the Warriors, man. I remember seeing some of those things start to creep up on the stat sheets and on the broadcast. Oh, this is the first, you know, they would talk about Steph Curry the same way, you know, oh, this is the only person that's ever done this and da 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 da. And it would just, it's just a really cool thing. And I think it lightweight gets taken for granted when like certain things get picked apart, his stature, his arm, air yards, DVOs, or oh my God, why did they sign him now? Why did they extend him now? And it's like, hold up, man. Hey, hold up, man. We got a 3-0 team. We ain't even clicking on all cylinders. Man, could you imagine, like, you know, okay, we could talk about the concerns because just in case they come up, you want to see them sharpen up. Yeah, I like to dream big and be like, hey, man, hey, we could be watching something really, really special here, and I'm not trying to miss out on that the joy of that. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
hey, we all got a different lens, but man, it's nothing but good stuff right now.
No, absolutely. And we appreciate you, Randy, and also everyone else who comments and contributes to the Straight Out of the Bay stream tonight. Randy says, you guys are awesome. I just argue for fun. Hope you don't think I'm being a wise guy. Not at all, man. Not at all. We love to
Wise
hear
guy.
we love to hear different point of views, and there's no fun if we always agree on everything, right? So
Yeah, man.
uh,
Yeah.
but in addition to Brock Purdy, I know some people would say that he's been lucky. You know, he's had some drop passes that should have been interceptions. I mean, fortunately, George Kittle, he must have been playing tight end and defensive back in college or something, because the way he swatted that ball down, I mean,
I watched it. I
yeah,
watched it a couple times. Yeah, he put the sword in, like, yeah,
right,
hey, I watched it a couple times. I
yeah,
think Brock threw it to the perfect location. I think
mhm,
there was a part of George Kittle that thought there might be a collision or something, because
mhm,
I watched it a couple times, man. I'm like, man, it feels like Brock really could have, or it feels like Kittle really could have snagged that ball.
right,
Like just watching, I think out of the corner of his eye, he thought there was going to be this collision, or dude might have had an extra step or whatever. Cause I mean, I watched the all 22, watched it both
yeah,
angles, rewound it, watched it again. Was like, man, I think this man really could have went up and got it. But if there was a massive collision and
right.
he's out for a while, who knows? But
Also,
yeah,
the Debo one as well. You know, that was a
hey,
good job by Debo knocking it
Brock
down.
sure what I gotta say about the lucky
Mhm.
stuff, he sure does seem to get lucky every single game. It's like, hey, hey, because it's like, oh man, he just got lucky. It's 9 games later. Oh, he just got lucky. It's like,
Right.
well, it's kind of seeming like this man is getting lucky, like
It can't be that much luck, right? But I
yeah,
would say you could go through every NFL game and there's going to be some drop passes on both sides on defense. Like, you could
bro,
literally go through every single
bro.
game. We got Bullpup in the building. What's good? Bullpup says, now you know what Steve Young said, that sustainable.
Yep.
Purdy is steady. Absolutely.
So
And I think he thrives personally.
I did a little exercise, dude. I put up a little video. I
What's
think it was "What's up, Crazy Juicy?" Yee. Hey, I did a little perspective, so I pulled
Mhm.
up some all 22 on a few quarterbacks in the NFL, and the main one that I actually put on my video was Pat Mahomes versus the Jags. I think this is right when we finished playing the Rams.
Okay.
I'm trying to, but I wanted to get perspective. All right, let me see. Let me see all of the all 22 of Pat Mahomes. I know we see the highlights. Oh, it's because a meme had my brain spinning on, hey, every quarterback does this. Go watch the quarterbacks around the league.
Right.
So, one of the, it's the third play of the game. Pat Mahomes almost throws a pick six on a
Mhm.
lazy, lobs it out there. It wasn't even the best rate. And I'm just sitting here like, dude, people would be freaking out over here
Right.
in the Niner Empire, the 49er faithful. Oh my God, I told you he had a noodle. Oh, It's like, bro, there were a few plays by Mahomes on every game, man. You could go look at Josh Mahomes. And I know one of the things that the people will say, yeah, but then they make the big wild plays that kind of make up for it. It's oranges, it's apples. I'm just gonna say it like this, that from what I've seen so far, and I'm not going to say it's too early. I'm not crowning nothing. I'm not making any definitives, but I'm going to say from what I've seen so far, Brock Purdy is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in the time that he has played. That's
Wow.
just no, that's facts. That's facts, bro. If
Holy smokes.
look
Wait, can you say
look
that again? No, I don't think I heard you. Can
Brock
you say that again?
Brock Brock Purdy is one of the best like people are starting to just now, oh, maybe top 8. Oh, maybe, oh, I still got him at 14. Now, Brock
Yeah.
Purdy is top 5. It's since he
Whoa.
has taken over. Go look
Okay.
at this is eye test and statistics. And you want to put in wins. You want to, if you factor everything in, even the eye test, even with his limitations,
Mhm.
you look at the numbers, you look at the eye test, what he's done. Yes, I know what surrounds him. I know every little detail of every intricate. That's just what I see, man. I see a straight up winner. I see a leader. And yeah, and let me tell y'all something else. Jimmy wasn't a winner like that. Jimmy was the true definition of like get lucky like that. We just seen
Uh-oh.
uh, hey, it's just what I
Number
see, man.
10.
Hey, it's what I see. It's what I believe. I was hoping that
Yeah.
Trey Lance was going to be that guy, but I have been humbly surprised that it came in a way different form, of a
Right.
person, and it did come unexpectedly. But I'm not going to hold on to I never had an ulterior motive or a what is it called, a narrative. And I'm glad I didn't have one. I did like Trey Lance and I do like Brock Purdy, but I'm glad I didn't truly have an ulterior motive because it took the wool out from my eyes to where I'm not like blinded. Oh, I was so on to Trey that I have to have this stance or something. It's like, nah, that ain't
Yeah.
for me because I've never had it. So like, because I think some people look at it like it's contradictory. It's like, nah, it's just I've never been about it how y'all are about it. It might be contradictory for you, but this fool Brock is the dude, man. It's like, hey, in 2 years, could it change? Could he fall off and could he just be some mediocre Joe Smo? It's possible, but right now, he's one
You
of the
gotta
best
you
in the
gotta
league.
live in the moment. Hey, it's so funny that you said that Brock Purdy, you feel like Brock Purdy since the time he started. So it's what, 9 games now?
I believe so.
9 games. So from the time he started, he's a top 5 quarterback because I wrote on my list of topics for today's show. I was like, I want to. Well, actually, I ain't gonna lie. I heard this somewhere else, but I wrote it down. But I was like, if you were starting a franchise today, what quarterbacks would you pick above Brock Purdy? So I wrote down some names, and I was going to ask you toward the end of the show
Man,
because it's so funny you say that because I clearly you feel like he's top 5. And I wrote down my list, and I was like, I think he might. Well, we'll talk about it a little bit later. But that's something we'll talk about for sure. And
man,
I want the chat to be involved in that as well.
there's
Looking
some
forward to that.
intangibles, man, because I know, all
Mhm.
right, you look at Justin Herbert, Brock
Yeah.
Purdy. It's almost like no matter what, you would be crazy not to pick Justin Herbert, right?
Right.
And I'm not
Right.
saying that Justin Herbert doesn't have the dog in him. I think that's where the kind of, you put Kyle Shanahan with Justin Herbert, maybe it's a different story. But looking at the leadership from what I see and the way that both guys talk, and I would love to see more big games from Brock Purdy when he does
Mhm.
have to go down and score a game winning touchdown. But how many times have we truly seen Justin Herbert do that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's been here for a minute. So I know on the surface, there's so many things that you can't see on the surface. So it almost reminds me of the Najee Harris and Pacheco trade I did in fantasy. It's like, oh, dude, you're trading Najee Harris for Pacheco. Like, look at the
Yeah.
PFFs and look at the
Right.
numbers.
Right. Right.
Dude, you made a horrible trade. It's like, did I? It's like right now, Pacheco got 33 points. Najee Harris is over
We're
here with
struggling.
17
Right.
on the
Right.
year.
Right.
So it's all perception. It's always going to come back down to no one is truly right. No one's truly wrong. It just depends on what your flavor is, man. Some like
Yeah.
mint chocolate chips, some like, brownie and vanilla.
Right. No, absolutely. I gotta say, what's good? We got Damian Lee in the building. Appreciate you tuning in tonight and appreciate everyone that's tuning in to the stream. Feel free to hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying the conversation, and feel free to subscribe as well, whichever channel you're watching from. I want to talk real quick about the Giants defense because they did something that most teams don't do, and they played with a certain vigor. They played like they had nothing to lose, which I guess they really didn't, right? Obviously flying here on a short trip to San Francisco from, they played Arizona. I would imagine they stayed on the West Coast. You would think they would pull a Shanahan move. You got 2 games on the West Coast on the road. Most likely they stayed in Arizona or at least on the West Coast. But anyway, it's still a short week coming on a Thursday night. I saw a crazy stat that I want to share right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Next Gen Stats. So Next Gen Stats, I think they're a relatively new company. I think they've been out for maybe 5 years, something like that. But it says that the Giants blitzed Brock Purdy on 33 of 39 of his dropbacks. They said that's the highest blitz rate in a game in the Next Gen Stats era. So I believe that's like 5 years they've been tracking this. And they said that Purdy averaged the fastest time to throw of his career, which is 2.34 seconds. So what that kind of tells me is Brock Purdy was obviously under pressure. Damn near every drop back they were blitzing, and Brock Purdy had to make quick decisions. And Brock Purdy showed, versus the blitz, he was 20 of 31, 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. I would take that every week. Now,
Every
obviously,
single day. This man is not.
There are some veteran quarterbacks that don't perform that well.
Exactly.
Now, granted, were there some drop passes that could have been interceptions? Absolutely. Did Brock Purdy get some help from his teammates? They were looking out for his quarterback, no doubt. But based on this, I think Brock Purdy performed very well under the circumstances. What did you think about his performance? Especially
it's a mindset, man. This is where preparation comes through. This is when I would talk crap about Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, man, is he really putting in the extra hours in the off season? Because now, mind you, I said I haven't been around a lot on the 49er stuff on social, on Twitter, this, that, and the other. So I'm not catching every single detail, but I have been watching bigger. I've been watching stuff outside of the 49ers, a little bit more NFL stuff. And one thing that I've never really checked out was the Kelsey brothers, man. And so I've been checking out their podcast just for a good time, man. I've been dipping out of, certain stuff that I'm typically, accustomed to or comfortable with, and just been checking other stuff out. And sure enough, I caught Brock Purdy went on there. This is probably maybe a month after, losing to the Eagles. So this is still when he's working on his arm and everything. And one thing that the Kelsey brothers, they're always joking, hella light, having hella fun. I don't know if you ever caught their show before. I think it's called New Heights or something like that. It's a dope show. Travis Kelsey, Jason Kelsey, they're brothers. They're freaking, they're dope. It's funny. But so they get Brock on, and I could tell they're trying to get Brock like to loosen up, come up out of his, because they're jokesters, and Brock is just the same Brock. And then eventually Jason Kelsey is just like, dude, I gotta say, bro, like, you're one of the most humble. Like, he was like, dude, like, you're hella mature for your age, bro. Like, dude, we're over here trying to get you to, kind of joke with us and
loosen
stuff.
Up,
and you are rock solid, though. But it's not even like he's tense or he's nervous. He's freaking Brock. But Brock talked about licking his chops the very first time he came into the game, I believe, versus the Dolphins. Or it was either the Dolphins or Tampa Bay, but he said they were just blitzing the crap out of me all game, and he's smirking. He's like, "Oh, y'all gonna try to do this to me, huh?" It's like that's his mindset from this first game, unknowingly coming into a game, versus the Dolphins. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of guys who are like, "Oh shit, they're about to shit their pants," or "Oh, I'm in the spotlight." Brock's like, "Oh, I think he said I got to figure out a way how to win this game." So his mindset is, I need to win. His next mindset is, oh, y'all gonna blitz me, huh? Kind of like smirking, bro. And that's his first ever experience is, I need to win. I'm about to tear you. Oh, you're gonna blitz me. Watch this. Right. And so it brings me to the New York Giants. That the preparation, the game plan. He said that they were aware that they wanted to try to blitz, and he was licking his chops again, bro. It's like that's the difference of like a guy like Jimmy, who's considered a winner, and a guy like Brock, who I feel like that's a true winner, is when you're licking your chops, when you know what's coming. Okay, watch this. You think you're going to whoop, boom, I'm about to hit you with the counter like you thought it was, but it wasn't, because I was ready for it, because I'm ready for it, man. And that's just the way I see it. So I love that by Brock. That just shows, like you said, there's some 7-year veterans that it's hard for them to capitalize. They'll get jittery and they'll fold, and Brock is not that. He's not going to fold. I've seen like 3 or 4 fade away, backing up passes right on the money. He knows how. He's starting to learn how to take the hit, how to turn and just like take it. And he's fearless, man. And that's something you can't really teach, when you have that kind of heart on just, being fearless and stuff. So.
When I first saw Brock, I felt that the moment wasn't too big. I felt like he was composed. Obviously, he played a lot of games at Iowa State, 4 straight years. He was a starter, and I think that showed. And it is it's cool to watch him. Even when the blitz comes, he's not phased by it. Like he'll make, and what he'll do is he'll make the right decision, whether it's I need to evade the rush and allow more time for my receivers to get open, or if he's going to, throw the ball away, or if he just looks the blitzer right in his face and then he just still delivers a catchable ball. So that's what's most impressive about Brock. Number 10 did those things as well. I mean, he did those things, but I think with Brock, obviously we're scoring more points on a consistent basis, and the offense is just flowing better. And as you mentioned before, there were only, I think you said coming into week 3, there are only three quarterbacks on an undefeated team who hadn't thrown interceptions, and Brock hasn't made that play that will hurt the team. He hasn't done it. Will he go the entire season without throwing an interception? Of course not. Like, of course he's going to eventually, throw a couple, but he hasn't made the mistake that will, put a nail in the coffin on the squad for that game. He hasn't made that back-breaking mistake. So I thought he performed very well under, obviously 33 out of 39 dropbacks. He was blitz, and that's what's most impressive is she's just composed, and the moment isn't too big. So I would love to hear the chat. What do you guys feel about Brock's performance? Definitely getting blitzed suddenly as he was. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But if he continues to play like this, I mean, I don't see a team that can really beat us, and obviously, we've only played Pittsburgh, the Giants.
It's
and,
always,
hey,
it's always, as soon as you're doing something right, it's like, oh, it was only Hey, these are teams in the NFL, people were picking Pittsburgh to be a sleeper team. The New York Giants were supposed to be a team this year, and LA wasn't. And if anything, it's been kind of the opposite. But I mean,
Rams
we just seen arguably the best team in the NFL. The Cowboys, a lot of people had them number 1, and the Cardinals number 32, which is a coincidence because I think a week or two ago I said there's not much separation from 1 to 32. Yeah, yes, when you watch the games play out, but everybody's in the NFL for a reason.
Everyone's good. Everyone's talented. Yeah,
everybody's fast. Everybody's coming for it. Everybody's trying to make a name. Everybody's trying to keep a name there. The ones that got it there, and it's like, there's always there's always an excuse to if you do too good or if you don't do good enough, and.
You didn't play 3 playoff teams in a row to open the season, so
today I'm gonna choose violence. And what can I debate and argue today, man? I sometimes I wish I was that way just for fun, but I'm just not. I'm not that guy. And it's like, one thing I will say though is I feel like when we did struggle in the past, we might have lost 1 or 2 of these games.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty in someone like Brock and these 49ers with the CMC. And because, it's relatively the same team, but I mentioned it in the offseason. I'm pretty sure you heard me over and over and over. People mentioning, oh, we start slow, the offensive line, I was like, dude, I feel like the slow starts we didn't have Brock. We didn't have CMC. People want to immediately equal Brock to Jimmy. I was like, to me, there's a big difference. Brock is a grinder, and he doesn't get phased. And Jimmy wasn't really known to be a grinder, and he would get phased. He would make that one. I mention it when I do some of my all 22 breakdowns where I mention that one play that could be a 14-point swing. And a lot of the times for the Niners, you see it struggling at the very end, even in some of our wins. Mentioned it all last year, the year before. Even in some of our wins, it felt like a struggle, and you're just not seeing that no more. Even in the games where we're not clicking, that we typically lose or just barely win, we're still lightweight dominating, and I can't wait to see everything come together, man, because this team's going to be – it's already dangerous. We just haven't seen it yet.
No, absolutely. Got to talk about, who was the offensive MVP of the game, or who would you give your offensive game ball to? I'll start off short and sweet. For me, it was George Kittle. He led the team in catches, 7 catches, 90 yards. His longest catch of the day was 29 yards. He was targeted 9 times. So 7 out of 9 is pretty good to me. And I just felt like he established himself in this game as a receiving threat. Obviously, with Ayuk being out, someone else kind of had to step up. And I like that Brock Purdy went to Kittle numerous times. Obviously, Debo had an exceptional game as well. But for me, I like what I saw from George Kittle. This was the game. So out of 3 games so far, I think this is his highest catch. He's had 7 catches this game, and the previous 2, he only had 3 each game. So I like more of this. I want to see more of George Kittle being involved in the offense because he gets open. He usually catches everything that's thrown to him. And he's one of the yak bros, so he'll definitely get yards after the catch. So my offensive game ball, it would go to George Kittle. What say you, Kelts?
Oh man, I want to go to like 5 different people. You know what? I'm gonna go Ronnie Bell. Man, hey, scoring his hold on one second.
Yeah.
Scoring his first ever touchdown.
That
And it
was
was
huge.
just on another really good throw by Brock, man, with pressure in his face. But every time a blitz is coming, Brock just knows how to recognize it. And Debo, my God, man, it's like, we left that for you, bullpup. Real talk. Good stuff for coming through. Debo, man, I mean, just love watching that man break tackles. But Ronnie Bell, man, catching the deflection, just being aware, making plays on special teams. Just that touchdown, man. You get your first one like that is special, and I think it's just so cool to see Brock when he first came in, he's linking up with Kittle game after game. And then earlier this year, he starts linking up with Ayuk. And then Ayuk goes down, and now you see him linking up with Debo. I think that was something that was kind of missing in the past.
Yeah.
I felt like it was more like, let's see how we can scheme things up for Jimmy and kind of play it to how they're playing us. And now I feel like we're more on attack mode. Like I feel like, and just even seeing the back shoulders and the deeper, it feels like there is an emphasis every single game to at some point go deep. And and we missed a couple versus the Rams, but now we're hitting on them. And I just think it's hella cool. But I'm gonna give it to Ronnie Bell, of course, Debo. I almost wanted to say Trent Williams, the silverback for saying that, for giving that good old left cross or whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? He got all up on him. I almost gave it to him right there. CMC. Hey, Elijah, we got to see Elijah Mitchell, man. Hey, that was nice. That was nice to see a little bit of Elijah. And yeah, man, but I gotta go.
He can still, Elijah Mitchell can still contribute to the squad. I thought it made sense to not give CMC, 30 touches in a game on a short week. So it makes sense that Elijah Mitchell got into the game. He had 11 carries, 42 yards. His longest run was 18. So if you take out that 18-yard run, was his performance impressive? No, but it was definitely good just to see him out there. And obviously, we don't need CMC to have the lion's share of the carries on a short week at home. The game was basically in the bag in the fourth quarter. The Giants only scored 6 points in the third. So, it makes sense to put Elijah Mitchell in the game. But you mentioned Trent Williams, the big silverback, who I gotta, this is not going to be a popular take, but I gotta be honest, I was disappointed with Trent. I mean, he obviously a seasoned vet, future Hall of Famer. I understand you want to stick up for your guys, but if he would have got kicked out, granted, we probably wouldn't need him in this game, whatever. But if he does this, which he has done in the past, if he does this in a playoff game and he gets kicked out, is he really helping the team? No. And I just think as a leader, I didn't like it. And then he's on IG like like kind of like making fun of it, like or he's like proud of what he's done. Like
teach your man how to squabble.
Exactly.
Hey, you know what I thought was hilarious, Jay, was he said, teach your man how to squabble. I don't want no beef. I don't want no beef, Trent Williams, even though I don't fear nobody but God, but still, you're a big man. But I don't want no problems. I don't want no
Yeah.
problems, Trent
I just
Williams.
felt
But
like
I always think it's funny when I see a guy punch a helmet. It's
it
like
don't make
this,
no sense. I was telling my wife, like, it
bro.
don't make
What
no
the fuck you
sense.
gonna
You ain't hurt
do?
nobody. He got on the helmet. He got on pads.
But then
Like,
he
you
said
ain't
teach
really
someone how
doing
to
nothing.
squabble, and I'm like, but bro, you just punched a helmet, bro. I mean,
Right.
it's just like,
Honestly,
hey,
you
bro,
hurt your fists, your knuckles more than you
yeah.
hurt the guy, like your opponent. So,
And then he still hit him with this part
right,
and not that,
right.
yeah,
It did it hurt us in the end? No, but let's be real. He should have been thrown out the game. Like, you can't throw a punch. Like,
hey,
and
shame. Hey,
I know he reacted to yeah,
I was volunteering at that game, and I watched pretty much all 22. But bro, I've only seen the clip on Twitter in
right,
slow motion where he did it. So I
right.
don't even know what I didn't see it. I
The
didn't see
number
the actual
91, I believe he did hit him, and it's kind of hard to see. I saw an angle where
like
it looked like he did hit him
like
under his
what
helmet. Like,
play was it?
I think it
Like or
was no, it was after the play was over.
no,
It was
but like
after some
what quarter? Like just the like, do you know what
no,
quarter it
it
was?
was before. So basically, he hit him before Trent Williams hit him back. Basically, Trent Williams retaliated. It wasn't
Oh, so
just
it was like a whole play later or something like that, or it was that same play?
it was that same so
That same
basically,
after.
when Trent Williams hit him, if you rewind it maybe like 5 seconds, I think
Yeah.
that's when you see the other guy kind of hit him. I don't know if he hit him under his helmet. It looked like to me he kind of brushed up against him under his helmet, so that's why Trent did that. Like, there's no doubt
Right.
he's retaliating. He didn't start it, but just as a leader, the team needs you to be out there. So it would hate for him to do
Hey,
that during a
when
playoff
that
game.
adrenaline's pumping though, bro. Hey, when that adrenaline's
You got to
pumping,
control it. Hey,
hey,
just
bro.
like Trey Greenlaw. Come on, brother. I mean, it's like what a game.
Hey, one of my first
Yeah.
ever fights, man. I'm running the ball and I was a little beast, bro. It would take a minute to get me down. So, dude, I see dude's eyes. He's coming at me. And mind you, in this game, when we're playing, we don't got helmets and pads, and we're playing just real tackle football on the grass, just in the neighborhood, 5th grade, whatever.
They
But I
used to
seen
call
it.
it "kill the carrier." That's
Yeah,
what
man. But
yeah.
we're playing. It's 8-on-8 or whatever it is. But I seen his eyes, and he just had that look in his face, like he was about to do something and he was one of my good friends. And this man punched me in the back of the head, but he tried to make it look like he was trying to tackle me. But there was one of the few moments where I put the ball down and I came up with about 15 uppercuts in 3 seconds, bro. And it just sometimes you can't. Oh man, it was an amazing feel. I wasn't the biggest fighter. I was more of a protector and
Right.
defender. But in that moment, I was defending. You get hit when you ain't looking, and especially I seen the way he looked. So then I knew once I felt the hit, I knew that this fool just really thought he was gonna sucker punch me. Oh yeah, I put that ball down and came up with lightning, bro. And it was and it was one of hey man. I would have got kicked out to get, but it's like sometimes it's so hard, bro, when something does happen that you kind of can't. If it,
To
hey,
not react. Right.
yeah,
Right.
little man, did you see Mac Jones and Sauce Gardner?
I didn't see
Mac
it.
Mac Jones did say, well, I guess Sauce. From the first thing, it looks like just all of a sudden there's a little. They all come together and they're kind of pushing and shoving, and then come out the pile, and Mac Jones coming out the pile. It looks like Sauce just throws him to the ground. It was like, what the
Wow.
hell? That's doing too much. But then you
Right.
slow it down. Someone zoomed all the way in, and as Mac's getting up, hella just try to be hella slick and hella weird about it, and freaking just gave this fool a nut shot. Like this fool really just kind of
Wow.
came up and just kind of, but you could barely see it, bro. And it's just that little
Wow.
sneaky ass shit. It's like, hey, I'm surprised Sauce didn't, shove him to the ground and do more than that. But
Right.
it's
Right.
like sometimes you catch some of these little dirty players, bro, that do some of this stuff, and it's hard when that kind of adrenaline is running, especially if it's something to the chin or something to the junk. I mean,
Right.
that almost sets off an immediate, or back of the head. If it's something sneaky, that's
Right.
when I think
I
it.
think there should be a rule that if you are responding to someone hitting you, and if you hit them back, you shouldn't get thrown off the game. They should get the person who initiated the contact.
Yeah.
But when they initially showed it on replay, it just looked like Trent just did it out of the blue, but then you had to really rewind it to see it. But that was, I was just saying, as Trent as a leader, expect more from
absolutely
him,
though.
and he would be hurting the team by getting kicked out. So.
Real
But I
talk.
know that's an unpopular opinion because I know
It's hard. It's man, it is hard. There's only been it. Hey, I tell you what, my friend, he never came at me like that again, bro.
yeah.
That man never ever came at me like that again, bro.
You had to make a statement, and hey, you definitely did that. Hey, did you have like obviously we only allowed 12 points. You know, the defense did a hell of a job. What do you think? Do you have someone in mind for, who deserves a defensive game ball or defensive MVP? What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I just got the picture of I didn't look at the stats a lot. I'm trying to really remember the game. Of course, we got the Hufunga. I believe he got the inner. What's
Yep,
that?
you
I
got the
believe that
INT.
was Fred Warner who popped that thing up, but then
Yeah.
someone else hit it. I heard someone try to give it credit to someone else, but and then of course, hey, Javon Hargrave, man, Javon Hargrave, man. I love his little sack dance. He does the whatever he's
Yep.
doing, he's building maybe he's like
He
building the
got the
door and
He's
then
kicking the
it
door.
down.
Yeah.
Kick it and hey, bro, it's a trip with my life. I get lucky a lot too because I put in I think even before we got Javon, and then I put him on that one thumbnail and we wind up getting him. But before that, one of my little go-to sayings this year is we got to kick the damn door down this year. It's like, hey, we've been knocking. There's an old interview by Tupac about knocking on the door and please, can I have some food? I'm hungry. And they don't want to give you no food. You come back knocking again, please. Hey, I'm knocking. I'm trying to ask nicely. Eventually, you got to pick the lock and kick that thing down. And all right, hey, I've been asking nicely. It's time to come take some food. And I feel like the whole 49ers team, coaching, everything, they have that mentality. Like we're coming to take it this year. And so I'll go Hargrave just because he got that sack and kicking doors down, bro. I love it. And one thing about Javon as well, he sounds like the nicest dude in the world on the interviews. Hella humble, hella just soft spoken. I love those kind of players, bro, who can be soft spoken like that and then hop on the field and be a beast.
No, absolutely. Well deserving. Bullpup says, did you hear, guys, about the meeting Wilkes had with the DBs? Told them to tighten their belts because we're playing more man to man. Give time to the line to eat. Well, I wanted to say as well, the secondary, I thought they did a pretty good job. I mean, they only allowed a total of 137 receiving yards through four quarters. I thought that was vast improvement compared to last week versus the Rams. Nakua probably had over 137 yards by himself. So granted, the talent isn't the same comparing the Rams to the Giants. We dig that at quarterback or pretty much all their skill guys. But I thought they bounced back. It was a game where they were expected to kind of dominate, and they bounced back. I think Mooney Ward had like 2 passes deflected. They didn't really give up many big plays. I mean, Darren Waller, like one of their better targets, like he was targeted 7 times, only had 3 catches for 20 yards. So I would say, hey, the secondary definitely did much better, partly due to the defensive line getting pressure on Jones. And obviously that was another I felt like key to the game. You got to contain Daniel Jones. He only had 2 carries for 5 yards, and he's a mobile quarterback.
That's 2 quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett is kind of
he's lightweight. Yeah,
I've seen games where he is hurt people with his feet a little bit, and that's so far 2 games by of course Daniel Jones is better on his feet. But I think I've seen an emphasis on angles when it's come to Armstead and Hargraves. Hargraves is a sneaky fast, man. He's and we also see Drake Jackson. Those guys are being a lot more mindful once they do step up or do roll out. You see them trying to hit certain angles and just keep the effort there. to whether even if it's just an ankle, I've seen Drake Jackson, Hargraves, and Armstead, those three in particular, do it this year. Get little ankle tackles or just hit certain angles to where it makes them have to take a different path. And then so we've been holding that in check, and that's been dope because typically that's what's been getting us the past few years. A
No,
Mariota or
Yep.
whoever else.
And
Mahomes.
we've got more quarterbacks up on the schedule who are going to present those mobility issues. Like even this week, Joshua Dobbs, he's a mobile cat. Next week, Dak. After that, Deshaun Watson. So we're definitely going to get our fair share of guys who can extend plays with their legs. So it'll be interesting to see if the Niners can keep this up with keeping in check those mobile quarterbacks. I got to say, what's good to Pule SF 49ers. Appreciate you tuning in to the stream. God bless you as well. Got to talk about were there any players you saw in the game? We talked about the great. Were there any players you saw that need improvement? I'll start it off. For me, I know Bosa got the sack, but he went unblocked. Bosa held out. Some people are saying, "Oh, well, he's not in game shape." He didn't have an offseason. Well, that was his decision. He could have been there in training camp. He could have still participated. No one really expected him to probably play preseason games, but he could have been there with his brothers on the D line. He could have been getting into that football shape, but obviously he chose not to. Was it a good decision for him and his bank account? Absolutely. But I want to see more. Like, he's the highest paid non-quarterback, and I know sacks aren't everything, but that's what he got paid for because he is a sack master. We expect him to get at least 16, 18 sacks a year. That's what we expect, and I just want to see more. So, will he deliver more? I'm sure he will. I know he does other things. I know he's great in the run game. I know that his pressure rate is exceptional as well. But I would just love to see those sacks, those forced fumbles. Man, on that play where he sacked Daniel Jones, I don't fully understand the rule clearly, but I don't understand how that was not a safety. What it was basically, his momentum had stopped at the 1 or 2, so they stopped it there, even though he tackled him in the end zone. Like, I don't know. That, to me, that should have been
ridiculous. Yeah, I think that should be more for. I think they should definitely switch that rule up because I want to say it should almost be limited to like the quarterback right there. But even when I'm watching the receiver, like if it's kind of like the receiver, I think they're stopping it a little too quick on the forward progress and whether he's tackled or not. Because let's say there's a split second where that receiver does break out and continues to run, they're going to count that, right? So then I get it. They want to do it for safety. But at some point in time, when it's like natural football motion, but I think that's where it gets tricky for them because now what's considered a natural football play or move. But in that particular case, that hella should have been safety. It's I think not judges, but the referees, I feel like the referees need to come together on things like that and maybe decipher amongst themselves, but then that would be tricky as well because then you might get some refs who let certain things slide and won't let certain things slide. But there should be a little bit more of a definitive on football, man, because it just makes it not feel like football when you see a play like that not be awarded the way it kind of should be, know, and
Bullpup
not even just my team, but just period. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, when he first makes contact, but it's like
that's
if
ridiculous.
Bosa makes contact at the 3-yard line, and let's say Daniel Jones wiggles out of his grasp, the play is still alive. But I don't know. It definitely, I don't know. It should be when the player hits the ground. But I know there's different rules based on when you're on the field. If you're at the goal line and you get tackled, it's different than when you're on the 50 and you get tackled. It's based on momentum, I know, but I don't know. I feel like Bosa definitely should have gotten the sack. Or excuse me, he should have gotten a safety on that play.
Yeah, that wasn't. I think Bosa. It just wasn't a part of the script. The safety wasn't a part of the script, but the Bosa sack was a part of the script,
Right,
and it would have interfered with the money line and all that. No, I'm just that's a joke. It's a joke. Nah, yeah, it's frustrating though, but I mean, hey, it's this new football, man. It is what it is, man. It's
was there any player out there that you felt like needed to see a better performance?
With all the amazing praise that I've given Brock, and I know I don't even want to say it's a lot because I don't like the fact of certain people saying if you talk so highly of someone, you're putting all this pressure, this, that, or the other. I think it's like there's stuff still out there. I seen a play where like Ray was right there, and I thought that was a touchdown. And I was like, oh yeah, Ray's about to, rewatching the all 22. Like, oh, Ray's about to score. Oh, he didn't go there. And I know there's a lot of factors that go into it. You only got 2 eyes on a football field, and there's 10 other moving pieces. You can only look at one thing at a time. So it's all understandable, but I would still like to see Brock, take another step or two. I would still like to see Shanahan continue to, just be aggressive. Keep putting that trust, keep taking those shots. Like, don't wait for the playoffs to come to, start doing things that you might not have done throughout the season when you might need it. So, hey, I would say Brock, man, continue to sharpen up. Don't get complacent, and keep balling. Keep being a baller. I know they're trying to teach you to stay in that pocket and take some of those hits and stay balanced. Like, just keep working on those. It's hard to work on instincts, but don't forget about what made you good at the same time and keep taking the shots. Just keep on taking the shots because they're going to come eventually. And, we're seeing little bits and pieces of it, but I would say, hey, it starts at the QB with me. I'm thinking anything more, I almost want to praise Javon Kinlaw. I think that's 3 straight good games. This whole defensive line, I know they're supposed to be who needs to sharpen up, but I do want to say this whole defensive line, I believe they've created the most pressure out of any team in the NFL, and it's by a big margin. It's like I think they're at 80-something%, and the next closest is at 60-something% on the next gen stats as far as so as a collected unit, I mean, we're way ahead of every team in the NFL, and that's why you're seeing, teams scoring 7 points, and even the Rams, when they were eating on us, were only able to put up 23, and that's without us capitalizing on some big shots as well. So I think with all things, there can be improvement everywhere, really. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just on this particular time, I'm going to just pick Brock on just sharpening up and, just sharpening up, man.
No, I can see that. Like you said in the beginning of the show, I think we left a little meat on the bones, and there's no doubt Brock can improve. A lot of guys can improve, but always interesting. Oh, go ahead.
No, the 5-man front. I just reading it right now. I'm like, hey, man, that right there, like, hey, that right there, like that's that's one of them little sprinkled in nuggets right there. That's yeah, I love it, man. It reminds me of the Bears back in the day, but even though the Niners used to do it back in the 80s, yeah, man, it's all old school football.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, you brought up, you think you got like 10 more minutes? You good?
Yeah,
okay,
good, bro.
Yeah, you mentioned that for Brock Purdy's last 9 games that he's played, you feel like he's a top 5 quarterback, and very interesting topic. I would love to hear from the chat as well. Of course, like, is Brock a top 5 quarterback? If not, which quarterbacks would you take ahead of Brock? And we're talking about quarterbacks in their present day. So if you said, oh, I want to take Aaron Rodgers, it would be Aaron Rodgers coming off of Achilles at his current age and stage of his career. So I want us to go back and forth and just name a quarterback who we think we would take over Brock, and then if not, we could debate a little bit. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
All right. So I'll start off first. Pat Mahomes.
Absolutely. This is good. This is going to be interesting. Man, who besides Pat, who's my number
Yeah.
one? I'm
Mhm.
not I'm not as big on Josh Allen as other people are, man.
Mm.
I'm not as big. Hey, you can have
So you
hey,
would take Brock Purdy over Josh Allen right now?
I'm not saying that, but I'm
That's the
struggling to pick
question.
I'm struggling to pick Josh Allen next.
That's
But
the
I'm like,
question, man.
who would I pick? Now I'm trying to think who would I pick ahead of Josh Allen because if I don't know, man. I'm just different with, of course, Pat Mahomes. You know, so I'm looking at every intangible.
So you
Not, you know,
saying Brock Purdy is top 2? You can't come up with it there. You saying Purdy's top 2?
man, I don't like that guy right now either. Man, I'm tough on some of these. You know what? Just because I'll go Herbert. I'll go
So you
Herbert.
say okay. So you say Herbert's 2, okay, and
Mhm.
I'll say Jalen Hurts. I would take Jalen Hurts over
Absolutely.
Purdy.
I gotta
Okay.
put Josh Allen. I got to.
Okay. So Josh Allen. So we already got 4. I would say. I mean, I would honestly.
It starts getting hard now. Like for me.
I think you could make a case for Lamar Jackson. I think you could. Is Brock Purdy a better thrower? Probably. But Lamar Jackson does have another, intangible to his game that most quarterbacks don't have. So I think Lamar Jackson, I think you would have to kind of put ahead of Purdy. Me personally. I think so. That would be the top 5 there. Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, Herbert, and Lamar Jackson, I think.
And right now for me, like, I'll just say it like this. I could care less what anybody else thinks on what I think, but
Yeah.
I'm picking Brock Purdy over Joe Burrows. I think the
Mm.
league is going to catch up to certain players. Like there's certain players like a Herbert to where it's just so overwhelmingly his his physical attributes are so overwhelming, and a Josh Allen to where that's always going to be there. You feel me? I feel like the league can catch up to a guy like a Joe Burrow. And I'm not just saying that just because of this year. I haven't been, other people have been real high on him because of their success. And I get it. I get it. But just me. And I've also been down on someone like Josh Allen. Like Josh Allen and the Bills remind me of the San Diego Chargers from back in the day. You feel me? It's just that's just the feeling and the vibe I get from certain players and certain teams. And when I look at a Brock Purdy, I don't know, he has a certain killer instinct, man, that we none of us even completely know yet because he's only played as much as he's played. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't, I see a Pat Mahomes. He's got that psycho kind of. I know he has a certain voice that some people make fun of, but when you really get to talking to people that's close to him about the game of football, and you can hear that killer mentality like a Michael Jordan or just the greats of all times. You hear them start talking certain ways on when they're training and certain coaches, you start hearing certain stories. And I'm getting that vibe from Purdy, and you're seeing it translate on the field. But after Lamar, like you said, yeah, it would be hard for me to pick any other
So
quarterback
so Joe
to win a
Burrow.
game.
Yeah.
Joe,
Joe Burrow, 2021, 34 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. The following season, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. So you're
I
saying
think Purdy's going to be exactly like on that kind of statistical hype. Like
okay.
I think it's going to be like easy, bro. But we just don't know it yet because it hasn't.
What about Tua? You take Tua over Purdy?
I forgot about Tua.
Uh-oh.
Just man, Tua's dope though too. Tua's dope. I think like personally, like of course physically, you know, I probably would go to it. But then when I'm looking at those like intangibles, like just that being a psycho about it, you know what I'm saying? I probably would pick Brock. I just think, I don't know, just when I see little things like him smirking and just like, oh man, they're gonna blitz me all game, like kind of I can relate to that kind of personality just because, I'll be calm, cool, collected, and humble, and I'm a believer and I love Jesus and these things. But when it's go time and game time, I'm a freaking psycho too, bro, and I will go flip the switch to kill mode, and I
Trevor
feel
Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. Ah, man, Trevor. I think Trevor Lawrence is dope, bro. Trevor Lawrence is dope, but I don't think he's gonna be as good as
Okay.
people think he is right now. I just I know he's very similar to Justin Herbert, just physical attributes and stuff like that. I think over the years you're gonna see some of these guys be good for maybe 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years, but then you'll see it kinda fizzle out if that's the right word.
I would say based on what we just talked about, I mean, you could say Deshaun Watson, he's obviously struggling this year. Some people would say Dak, but nah, I would rather have Purdy than Dak.
It's in between the ears, just
Yeah,
for most of the reason why I'm picking Brock over some of
I
these
think
guys.
Purdy is top 8. I would say since when he started, unless we're leaving any names out. I mean, you could some people would say Kirk Cousins. I know he's good in
Oh, yeah.
fantasy. Some people would say Jared Goff. Hey,
Oh,
I mean,
definitely. Now
yeah,
there's a lot of people who would definitely put 4 or 5 or 6 of those guys above. I'm more looking at
right,
the future. I'm more looking at the future and right in this moment. Like, if I had to win a game tomorrow,
yeah,
and it's hard to say that because if Kirk Cousins had been there for the last 9 games, maybe we would have a better feeling of what Kirk might do as a
yeah.
Niner. But I'm gonna pick Brock Purdy over Kirk Cousins or Dak Prescott or Jimmy Garoppolo or Derek
Absolutely. Yeah.
Carr, or I'm picking Brock Purdy over Trevor Lawrence tomorrow. I'm gonna say that with my chest, tomorrow. I'm almost crazy enough to pick Brock Purdy over Herbert, tomorrow to go win a
Oh,
game. Hey, Brock Purdy hasn't lost a game, bro. And I
whoa.
think I think some of us are kind of like, yeah, but that's what the Niners. Yeah, that's what Shanahan. I think it's the whole. I think it's all of it, man. I think you got to add every piece of, and we will never see Herbert in the Niner uniform. So it's
Right,
all
right.
up for fun and discussion and debate. But I'm definitely putting all the guys that you said: Lamar Jackson, Hurts, Mahomes, Herbert. I think the probably big one that I left off that most people would put is Joe Burrows and,
Right.
um, who
I
else
think
did
it's
you say?
because they've played longer. You've seen more of a sustained success with those guys. Now,
Yeah.
interesting question would be, or even more, if you rank Purdy with the rookies, or with the young guys, you could put Trey in there, you could put Jordan Love, you can put Trevor Lawrence, you can put Justin Fields, even Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. That would
That's a good
be,
discussion. That's a
yeah,
good
that
discussion.
maybe we'll have to leave that for another day, but I think that's pretty interesting as well. I think just by us having this conversation, that's how good Purdy has been in 9 games. On a great winning streak, leading us to the playoffs. I think a lot of Niner fans would say that with him under center, the offense looks more fluid, it looks more explosive, it looks better. And I think he brings out the best in his teammates. So just the fact that we're having this discussion, I think Brock Purdy is continuing to prove he may not be top 5 now, but he can definitely get there. And I think he's already top 10 personally. So, but yeah, we're probably going to end on this. Niners got the Cardinals this Sunday at Levi's. Who is your 49ers X factor on offense and defense? And then feel free to drop in a score prediction. I'll go first. My X factor will be on offense. I think I'm going to go with Brock. I think if Brock has another outing of 23 of 31 passing, 2 or 3 touchdown passes, no INTs, we win the game. So I think Brock continues to make great decisions. Brock continues to get the ball in the hands of his playmakers. I think Brock could definitely be the X factor on offense. On defense, I'm gonna go with Drake Jackson. I think he's been playing very well. Now, clearly, he hasn't had the replica of the 3-sack game, the first game of the year. But I've noticed some things, just some small things like recognizing a screen pass and making a tackle. Like he made a tackle on Puka Nacua against the Rams, and that saved. He could have had a first down and more if he didn't make that tackle. So I like, and Drake Jackson, he gets his hands up when the quarterback's throwing the ball. He just does a lot of the little things that stand out. So my offensive X factor, Brock; defensive X factor, Drake Jackson; and my score prediction versus the Arizona Cardinals. And I think they beat the Cowboys last week. No one was expecting that. But I'm going to take the Niners to win. I think we'll score 30 points again. I think we'll win 31-21 against the Arizona Cardinals. So what say you, Kel?
31-21. Hey, and last week you did say 27-10. So I mean, what? You're only 5 points off on that,
Close.
Yeah, that was really close. You said Debo and Huff, and those were two good picks because Debo went off, Huff got a pick.
Yeah.
Last week I said 41-17. I said Brock and Greenlaw. Brock, hey, it's a trip. He had his most passing yards in a regular season game, and he left a lot out there. But watching some of his better throws, just some of those fadeaway, I could see the progression. Just even without, we got Blue True with a
$3 super sticker. Hot diggity dog. Appreciate that, Blue True. And SG, we're getting ready to end the show. But we appreciate you wanting to join the show, man. Maybe another time. Bullpup says Warner has to win against Connor. Absolutely. Also, Roberto, what's good? Appreciate you tuning in, man. And
Amin,
continue. Yeah.
Amin was real close as well. He said 31-13. And so that was only, 2 points off. He said Kittle on Bosa. Baller said 33-3, and he said Jawan Jennings. I'm thinking, did Jawan smack somebody in that game? It feels like our receivers,
he always does every game.
and then he picked Bosa. And I haven't put much thought in this game, but I do want to say is about the Cardinals that they got some players, man. And I'm surprised. I think Dobbs is a lot better than I ever realized because I've paid close attention to all their games, just watching our next opponent that we're about to play. So I've caught quite a bit. I watched, the Dallas and the Cardinals. I also watched New York and the Cardinals. So I've watched at least 2 of their games, and I was impressed by Dobbs both times on some of his speed, some of his throws. I'm kind of sitting here like, I wonder why some of these guys who are this talented, you don't see them kind of put together more years. Maybe we'll see. We'll see. But it's almost surprising that we'll just see what happens with him. Connor is a good player.
Who
is it? Rondale Moore, he broke a long run.
He's a speedster. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a speedster. They got Hollywood Brown. They got some players that don't look like they're folding, or gonna try to get a number 1 draft pick. They got players who look like they're playing hard. That's what I see. I see Connor hyped up anytime he gets 5 or more yards. He's yoking up, and a few of their players look like they're going hard. Even Zach Ertz, he used to be with the Eagles. So they got some players over there, and I'm thinking on defense, it just feels like they're definitely not giving up. They just ain't no regular old joke of a team that you're going to steamroll. I think I could see them, even though the Giants came back and won, I could see them putting up a bigger fight than the Giants did for sure. That's just what I think. Man, I want to say Brock as well. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if Ayuk comes back and Ayuk does big things right out the gate once again. Just trying to pick outside of Brock just because I picked him last week. So I'm gonna go Ayuk. I'm pretty sure he's gonna come back and be strong. Yeah. And then on defense, you know what? I'm thinking Cardinals. I'm thinking what they're gonna. Hey, you know what? I know Connor. I know I think we're going to see a good show by Warner. I think Warner is going to accept that challenge, and I think we're going to see some collisions with them too, Connor and Warner for sure. So I'm going to go
Absolutely.
Warner. And I'm hoping there is eventually a game where the Niners do put it all together and we don't see any meat left on the bone, and we don't even see the bone. The bone is gone. It's crunched. That thing, it's just evaporated and disintegrated. So, man, I'm gonna go big, man. I'm gonna go big. I'm gonna say, but it is the Cardinals. I know they're gonna fight. NFC division. I want to be logical here, but I'm gonna just go crazy and say 42.
Woo.
I'm gonna say 42 to 17.
Wow. Hey, I
Yeah.
like it. I like what I hear. And you mentioned Connor. He's a big guy, 6'1", 229. Definitely looking forward to seeing him collide with Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. That's for sure. And the Cardinals, they were able to run the ball really well against the Cowboys. I think they had 222 yards rushing, so that's definitely something the
Yeah,
Niners have to contain.
Dallas is soft though, man. Hey,
Yeah,
just because I'm talking about the good stuff of the Cardinals, just the
yeah.
hey, don't get it misconstrued. Like, I think our Niners are going to shut them. I know Connor, he has looked good versus the Giants and the Cowboys. But I think we're going to make him look like we made Najee Harris look. I think
Mm,
you're gonna see a couple of those big hits light him up, like Roberto Davis in the comments, Greenlaw, and
yeah.
it's gonna kind of simmer their little momentum that they've kind of built. Even in the loss versus the Giants, I feel like they kind of built momentum to show that they're just not, they're not just gonna get walked over. But yeah, man.
I dig it.
Hella soft. Dallas is soft. I think they're soft, man. I
I
think
don't. I mean, yeah. I'm not gonna say
Michael
they're soft.
Parsons ain't soft, but I
Nah,
don't know. I feel like
I don't think they're soft. I think they didn't take Arizona. They took them for granted. They didn't really see them as an equal. And then they played like that. I think that's what it is. I really don't think the Cowboys are soft or they're weak. They just look past them. They look past the Cardinals. They thought they could get off the plane and just show up, and the
or
Cardinals would bow down.
or the 49ers are just so aggressive and they are so much of dogs that
Mm-hmm.
when we do see a team that isn't kind of like that, it's easy for me to be like I remember Trayvon Diggs running up and being like, nah, business decision,
Right,
in the
right, right.
game last year versus Kittle.
Yeah,
I've seen that time and time again with Dallas Cowboys, those business decisions, or they get the talking and then they get smacked,
right.
versus I'm seeing the highlights in my head of Jawan Jennings hitting Diggs or Diggs not wanting to attack, and or Zeke or certain guys getting run over. It's like once you might be able to mollywop certain teams, and I think
Yeah.
that happened last year too. Like I think Dallas like put a whooping on, I think the Jags or something like that, and then all of a sudden they faced like an aggressive, tough team,
Yeah.
and it was the complete opposite. It was like, hey, it looks good versus some when it's all clicking, but you face some of the teams where every other player has that mentality of that dog. Like the 49ers are trying to make contact, that's just their mentality. Like we hear Shanahan talk about it and every other player talk, who was it? Someone, I think it was John Lynch talking about Isaiah Oliver with Greg Papa, and he made great points. He said that our players are trying, I'm trying to think word for word, but our players are just trying to run through you. And we preach this. We're trying to run through you and don't worry about letting them get by you, because then you got Greenlaw coming, you got Huff coming. And this is John Lynch. He's getting fired up talking to Papa about the moment Isaiah Oliver became a 49er versus the Rams on that 4th and 2. I think he made the stop. And who was it? It was Peters. Peters looks over at Lynch and was like, he just became a 49er. Like,
Mm,
because, he just ran through it. Like, that's 49er. Like, whenever you hear them talk about 49er football or the 49er way, they're talking about that. I will run through a brick wall. And so
right.
when you hear someone like John Lynch talk that, the whole entire organization is like, hey, we know it might not be the smartest. We need to preserve gas and we need to be healthy, but this is what we're doing. Hey, whether we live by the 3 or die by the 3, we're running through brick walls. And I think when certain teams face that, they don't know what the hell to do. And
Right.
And
so you're saying everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. A famous philosopher once said that.
Who was that? Vince Lombardi or
no? A famous philosopher, Mike Tyson.
Oh, there it is, Mike. Freaking hey, shoot, I should have known that one. All right, Bullpup. Yeah,
appreciate you coming in, Bullpup. Appreciate everyone tuning in to the stream tonight. I think we'll end off on that. So you said your score was 42-17. And your offensive defensive was
Ayuk.
And who was defensive?
Warner.
And Warner. Okay, cool. All right.
Hey, Warner.
Appreciate everyone tuning in to the stream tonight. Bullpup, Roberto, Blue True, SG, Philly, Randy. We appreciate all the comments as well. We will be back next Monday night, hopefully with a full 4 crew of the Straight Out of the Bay. We hope those gents, especially Eric, Bay Area Baller 18, hopefully he gets well. He's feeling under the weather. David McNiner came through, Crazy Druce. We appreciate everyone tuning in. We had Fable, this guy. We appreciate all the love. Any final thoughts or anything going on in your channel, Kelps Chronicles? Let the crowd know.
Jimmy looks to the left. Jimmy looks to the right. Nah, man. Hey, that was hilarious, bro. When that man Jimmy, here, let me get up. When that man Jimmy pointed, bro, I broke down. I broke down when he pointed. Bro, he pointed and threw like a back shoulder lob interception. And just watching the stutter steps, and I'm watching a lot more quarterbacks do it. I seen Joe Burrows tonight look a little, I don't know. I think certain quarterbacks do regress and get up in their head. And if they're not putting in that extra work, and if they're not psychos in the off season and live it and breathe it and want it, like,
oh yeah, when I think of that, I think of Jimmy. Yeah.
Bro. Bro, like I'm telling you, something happened this summer with it. It was that make or break summer. He got the bag, and it was like, am I going to be a fanatic, or hey, I'm just a guy. I got paid, man. Life is great.
Right.
And I don't blame anybody. Everybody's cut from their cloth. You feel me?
Yeah.
And man, when I just seen Jimmy, bro, it was like, man, there's hospital balls and just the uneasiness and just the whole, it was flat. It's easy to see, for me at least, just like, and you explained it earlier, just the comfortability with Brock, the confidence,
right.
even when shit ain't going right, it still feels right. You know what I'm saying? Even when there is a 3 and out or a over or a throwaway. I freaking love throwaways, man. I just do. It just shows me that they know what's up. And it's not like panicky either. It's like, it's typically the right decision. You feel me? So, yeah, man, I had fun with the Jimmy game. Yeah, man, I thought he was going to be able to bring it back. I was like, this is old school 49er football, going to make you stress the hell out.
Yeah. I don't feel that way with Brock. I don't feel
not at all. And I thought he was really going to be able to tie it up. They go for the field. It was just like, man, it's not our problem anymore. But there goes that man, Jimmy. Yeah, man, they call it a meaningful debacle. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Hey, what's good, Libby's World? What's good? What's good, G12? Appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. We're gonna call it a night. But we'll be back next Monday night. Appreciate everyone tuning in to Straight Out of the Bay crew, half of the crew. Hopefully we'll have the full crew next Monday. But that's it. Looking forward to the Niners game this Sunday at Levi's. And hey, can't wait for the game. We should be 4-0 the next time we meet. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Go Niners.
Yeah. Is that? Yee! We getting it, boy.
What's good? You know who it is. It's your boy, Jay in the Bay.
Your baller back again. Smells like football season.
Yo.